Hey everybody, it's Randall again. This week I thought I'd do something different. I invited a very good friend of mine, someone I have great respect for, to be on a speakerphone as I'm talking, because we're getting a nice response. You know, a lot of people in the community. Unfortunately, like I've said before, this divorce thing touches a lot of people. I wish that it wasn't like that, but it's happening, and I want to do whatever I can to help the brothers, and there's some sisters out there too who seem to be getting some value from these video podcasts, vlogs, whatever. So I think I'm going to go back somewhat to the beginning of when I first started doing these things, aimed at the folks who are really in the middle of it and looking to grow through it, just not go through it. And it's hard to do that because you're so much stress and so much change going on. But one of the reasons I brought my buddy Dan Galperin in is because his specialty is really pulling yourself up by your own bootstraps. He's not one to blame or play the victim. He's one to take a look at the landscape of your life and see where you need to grow and to challenge yourself. So we're just going to free flow with this a little bit and see what kind of value we can provide you guys. Okay, so Dan, how you doing, my friend?
Hey, man, I'm doing great. I'm glad to be on. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. So just give me the TV Guide's version of, TV Guide Digest version of what you're up to now with your program that you've invented.
Yeah, I founded a platform called the Manpower Project, and it's about helping men live the most authentic and powerful lives that they can live in whatever way that can happen. So, you know, I address physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, you know, in whatever aspect is pertaining to a man living his best life and, you know, stepping into his life with a lot of power and confidence. That's my goal for the men that I work with. So, and I actually have a lot of women as well that follow what I do, because a lot of the things that I talk about and do in the Manpower Project is related to women as well. It relates to everyone. So, but I specifically focus on men, and because I'm a guy, and, you know, like you said, I don't go for the victim mentality. So I like to, you know, say it like it is and, you know, cut right to the chase. My style, I think, works better with men. So that's what I've been focusing on. And it's been really great. We've had some great results with some of the guys we're working with. So
for our purposes, like, to me, there's probably 3 phases. I'm sure there's more subtlety to it than that. It's a generalization. But in this divorce thing that we and the people in this little community that sprung up around this vlog look at with divorce, okay, there's the bomb gets dropped. You're shell-shocked. It's like the beginning of Private Ryan when he's on the beach looking around. And that's kind of my focus. Just get through that. The words, it's going to be better. Is that really going to help? Well, you just have to get through with action-oriented things, whether it be watching your favorite movie, taking a cold shower to shock yourself a bit, writing, getting back to what turns you on, if that's business, if it's a sport or what have you. Then moving on to phase 2, once you're kind of out of that Private Ryan phase, which I think is where I think what you do is useful in any phase, but it's really, as we get out of that, it's accessing our full power and moving forward, because it's hard to do that when you're in the middle of the shit, you know?
Yeah.
The third one is dating and all that, but we can deal with that later. He was a killer Casanova back in his day. We can invite him back. But talk a little about your experience with divorce, and then how what your focus is might help somebody move beyond the chains, you know, that one deals with all this divorce stuff going on.
Sure. Yeah. Well, for one thing, I'll start by saying I'm not divorced, and I have never been divorced. So from that aspect, I do not have the hands-on first perspective on it the way that you do. So, but I will talk about how, you know, I've been devastated in my life in different ways. I mean, I've gone through bad breakups, in very serious relationships, so I can kind of relate in that sense. I mean, certainly not with having kids and being so involved, owning a house together, or having finances together and all that stuff. I mean, I never did that. But my parents are divorced, and so I experienced a little bit of what divorce means to a family. So I can certainly relate from that aspect. But I would just say in general, when we go through these very devastating times in our lives, what we tend to want to do is think, this is never going to end. This is a place that I'm, getting stuck, and I'm going to be, sort of like my life's never going to come back together again. But that's not the case. There was a great quote one of my guests on the podcast that I do said, and it's that the view of the top can best be seen from the bottom. So just when you think your life, can't get any lower, you can realize that once you've been broken down to a certain point in your life, when just, the shitstorm happens and you just, like you said, shell shock on the beach and, bullets whizzing by and you're like, what the fuck just happened? So when you get to that point, there's an opportunity there. There's an opportunity that, once your life's been smashed, then you get to reinvent yourself. You get to put the pieces back together again in a way that you choose. So I know it's hard for, people listening who are going through this at the time, and I know it feels awful and it feels, gut-wrenching, but just know that, you have a choice with when that happens in your life. You have the choice. Are you going to be defeated, or are you going to rise up and be even better when the tides turn? Because the tides will turn. That it always happens like that, And there's another, saying when you hit double bottom, then you're gonna go up even higher the next time. So if you can kind of keep this in perspective, it's like life is teaching you something. Are you getting the lesson, right? And it can be different for different people. Like, maybe you didn't bring your A game to the relationship, or maybe the communication was not there, or for whatever reason it didn't work out. And I would also say to people, I went through a very rough financial collapse about 4 years ago, devastating, and was really, really tough. And I have a family, and so we dealt with a lot of stuff, and my wife and I were under a tremendous amount of stress, and we almost split up. But fortunately we stuck together and things worked out okay. But when you are, when you're getting, when life is beating you down, you get to choose. Am I going to be better for this, or am I going to be worse for this? And it's a choice. You can choose to be devastated. I mean, you're going to be devastated. Like you said, one of your videos. There's a time when you want to just lay in bed and not get out of bed and eat ice cream, watch movies, whatever. So do that. You got to lick your wounds and you got to heal. But there is going to come a time when you're going to get back up and you're going to get stronger. So make the intention that you will be stronger from this experience. I know that I'm much, much stronger now from that financial collapse that we had, because when your worst nightmare comes true, that's when you kind of like, okay, what else can happen now? It's like it's already fallen apart. Now I'm kind of free, and then that allows you to, when the dust settles and when eventually when the tides turn, you can create a better life for yourself than what you had before, and just stay committed to that idea that your life will get better, and it will be even better than it was before that happened.
I loved what you alluded to in that explanation. You kind of led us down the path of looking at it as a bird's eye, but also personalizing it. For instance, things will get better. You have to stick in there. You know, you have to make a choice to rise up. But really the key to that, it seems to me, is to make it personal. So for me, everybody knows from watching this, I'm an actor and big into drama. So to me, this is like Rocky. It's like war. I don't mean war. My brother's active military. I get it. We're not talking about war, but I make it into that and I challenge myself, and that turns me on. Like, you know, a interesting balancing act we've talked about before on this is having a chip on your shoulder, but knowing it's there. Like if you're challenged by a situation, or your wife or whoever thinks you can or can't do something, you're like, I'm not going to give the bastards the satisfaction. I'm going to get my ass up, get in shape, get my business going, get my relationships going, make my lists, and show the world what I can do. But at the same time, not be controlled by that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really do blame her for talking down to me and that kind of stuff, or the boss, or whatever's going on in your life. There has to be that balance. But I think everything's a story anyway, so why not empower yourself with one of your own making, right?
Yeah, exactly. Why not? Why not just empower yourself? And, you know, I mean, there's a time and a place to prove people wrong, you know, and you know, so if that is what motivates you, you know, at a certain time in your life, use that, you know, but hopefully there will come a time when, you know, you don't care what anybody else thinks. You're living your life, and, you know, people can make judgments about you, but that doesn't matter, because what you do is for you, not for them. And, you know, how you live your life is an expression of, you know, what you're creating, what you want, and you're not beholden to anybody for, you know, having to do a certain thing or whatever. But yeah, I mean, yeah, get in shape. And the other thing is, I was going to say, is that's a process. You know, in some cases can be a longer process when you go from being, you know, sort of knocked on your ass to being back in the place where you're actually, you know, getting momentum on your goals, and you're getting in shape and you're feeling good. You know, that takes time, especially when you first get hit. You know, if you're going through the divorce now, or if you're about to, or if you just did, you know, I mean, it's not going to heal immediately. This is not something that's, you know, in 3 months or 5 months, or even, you know, maybe a year or two. It might take some time before, you know, things start coming back into shape in the way that you want them. So at the same time, I'd say be patient with yourself. You know, don't be too hard on yourself, and don't whip yourself too hard if you're not all of a sudden, you know, like in great shape, and, you know, business is going great, and, you know, and things are clicking. You know, that might not happen immediately, because it does take time. You know, when you get knocked on your ass, it takes time to get back up.
Well, I was talking about how I like to read. Just my thing is, I was a political science major. The founding fathers, not getting into politics, but these guys went through amazing things. Like when they're young, certain of them, you know, the British kicked the crap out of them. They had 7 siblings. 6 of them died of typhoid. They fought in a war. I mean, they had debilitating diseases, but they kept going. So whatever that is for somebody, maybe it's Greek mythology, or it's, you know, the tribes of Africa consolidating power, wherever the hell it is, you can derive motivation from that. But kind of drilling down to be more specific.
Hey, Randall, can I just say something about that real quick?
Go ahead, yeah.
You know, that's a great point that you bring up. You know, the founding fathers and pretty much anybody, if you look, anybody who's been successful in their lives, you know, they didn't get there by stacking success after success after success and never failing. You know, that's sort of a mythology in our culture that's not true. The truth is that people that are successful, most of them have been through hell. They've gotten the shit kicked out of them, and they've become stronger because of it. You know, you pick anybody that you admire. You read a biography of them, and you'll see, you know, they went through devastating relationships, business failures. I mean, you look at Abraham Lincoln. that guy should have never been president. You know how many failures he had in his life?
Right.
So, I mean, it's not the failure that defines you. It's what you do with the failure or the, perceived failure in your life. It's like the greater you're challenged, then the greater you can become. Because without that challenge, you can never rise above it. So it's actually, sort of in the long view, it can be a good thing because it actually takes you to an even higher place and allows you to be an even better person than you would have been before.
But what about migrating those beautiful words that you feel passionate about into somebody who's had the shit kicked out of them and they've lost that, but they have this little voice saying, I want to do this, I do want to change, but it just feels like a tidal wave of all the negativity and I can't really own what Dan's telling me. If they have that conversation at night, starting the next day, what do you recommend to them just taking baby steps? How do they actually on the ground, fly on the wall, watching them do that?
Right. Well, I mean, one of the first things I would say is, and I know it's hard, it can be very, very hard. Don't beat yourself up any more than you need to, because when we do things and we get through periods of time in our life when things don't go right, we tend to beat ourselves up and be really hard on ourselves. I used to be extremely hard on myself. I used to get so pissed off at silly stuff like playing golf. I used to get so angry when I played golf badly that I would literally punch myself in the face. I mean, that's how crazy it was. So I know a thing or two about being hard on myself. So I would say don't be hard on yourself any more than you can avoid it, because, listen, things happen. Things happen. It's not necessarily your fault. So, and what happened. So maybe part of it's your fault and part of it's not your fault. Doesn't matter. The point is it happened, and now what are you going to do about it? So there is a book called Power versus Force. I can't remember the author's name off the top of my head, but he tested for all these different emotions on this scale between 1 and 1,000. And he tested a lot of different things, religions and, different organizations and things like that. But so death is 0, 1,000 is like, enlightenment or whatever, pure love, whatever you want to call it. And so the emotions, the lowest thing closest to death is guilt and shame. So these are like 10, 15, 20 on a scale of 0 to 1,000. So guilt and shame are really, really toxic emotions. So in whatever way you can kind of deal with that and not beat yourself up about it, I would say that is a very effective, kind of way to start going about it. I started this thing about 6 months ago, and it's a way for me to retrain my brain to get myself thinking more positive. And it's called My Good Things Happen Journal, right?
Okay.
So every day I sit down for about a minute or two, and I just think about in my life or the lives of my family, people around me, what good things happened, Okay, so I got a phone call from my buddy Randall today. That was good. We had a nice conversation. I had a nice walk with my dog today. Hey, my cousin's going to visit me in a couple months. That'll be good. And whatever. You just think of anything good that happened. And it can be small, really small. But the point is you're acknowledging the positive rather than staying caught in that negative cycle of just thinking negative. It helps to, over time, it's not gonna flip the switch immediately, but if you continue to do this practice every single day, after a few months, you're gonna notice that your mind shift is happening towards the positive. So that's one practical tool that you can do that doesn't take very much time. You can do it really fast, a couple minutes a day. Mm-hmm. That'll be one easy thing I would say that's a practical thing you can do even if you're feeling like shit.
And just to hit the pause button to reinforce, you notice how this discussion is about divorce. It's about digging oneself out from that situation. And we've mentioned maybe once the other party. It's all about us and you and me, what we can do.
Right.
So we're not here batting back and forth what she did, how to navigate that, which he, she, it, where, what, blah, blah, blah. It's like, what can you do each day? And that lives outside of being a victim, outside of blame, and shining the light back on yourself and seeing what you can do to strengthen yourself and make this into an opportunity.
Right. You can't control her or him or whoever, whoever you're getting divorced from. You can only control yourself. And so, keeping yourself positive, keeping your mind set up, not falling into that trap of being a victim, like, oh, she did this to me, listen, there's a place for anger and hell. I'm no stranger to anger. Righteous anger, go for it. If that's what you need to do right now, go for it. Try not to do it to her because, that's probably most likely not going to make the situation any better. But, if you need to go off, you need to take a wiffle ball bat and beat the shit out of a pillow and scream, your lungs out for an hour, do it. If that's what you need to do, then go for it. But, blaming the other person, in fact, I just wrote a blog post. I published it yesterday called Blaming. And so, no matter how much you feel like that person may have wronged you, in some way, shape, or form, what they did made sense to them. You can't control anybody else except for yourself. So if you can get to that place where, the faster you can get to that place where, you're trying to, like you said, in one of your other videos, try to, have at least a decent relationship with that person, at least try to see the other person's point of view a little bit, even if you don't really want to. And, it's just, you can't control them, but probably most likely the more even keeled you can be about the situation, the more even keeled they are going to be.
Yeah, that's
angry and righteous.
That's a muscle that's tough to work.
Then you're going to get that right back. So I know easier said than done, but that would be the goal, I would say.
We'll keep talking, but I'm on this program. I have no idea how long it'll run. So if it dies, you guys have gotten a lot of good stuff, but we're going to keep going. Before it dies, or if it does, just tell us again where people can find your site, and again, kind of a nutshell what it is, because I've gotten a lot of strength from it, and a lot of what I talk about comes from it.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Yeah, I'm at manpowerproject.com, and I also have a podcast called The Dan G Show, and it's on my website, and it's also on iTunes. We're actually still in the process of loading all of the episodes onto iTunes. I've got about 5 of them on there now. And so I've got a blog. I've got about 60 or so blog posts. I cover a lot of different ideas about mindset and how to approach things. So check it out. There's a lot of free info on there, and then if anybody's interested in coaching, there's a coaching application. You can ask questions about what the coaching is all about and things like that. So.
I
help anybody if I can be of service.
Absolutely, he's great. I'm both kind of I don't want to say excited, but there's a certain satisfaction when I see people engaging in the videos I'm doing, and we're talking back and forth, and people leaving comments. But on the same time, I'm depressed because this is out there, So. It's there. We have to accept it. But I guess my segue is that there's a community of people in the same boat that I was in, that I am in, and we need to keep this community moving forward and whole and keep supporting each other. This is not a one-way street at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And Randall, I want to take my hat off to you, because the work that you're doing with this divorce stuff is great. You know, your videos are great. The help and support that you're giving people is really amazing. So, you know, good for you. I think you're doing great work in the world. So, you know, keep it up.
I appreciate it, man. So if we talk about the phases of this as we close out, there's the kind of shock phase we talked about. Then there's the there's the growth phase, where habits are hard to break, or mindsets. And Dan, is it a question of kind of doing things and letting them work on you over time? It doesn't just happen overnight, as you said, but how can people kind of put in place a support around them to keep them motivated?
Yeah, well, I mean, like on your forum, you know, finding a community of people that are going to talk about this stuff. You know, like on your forum, people can talk to each other. I'm sure there are other forums online and things like that. You know, I do every month I do a mastermind group where, you know, a few guys come in and we just talk about stuff and work on different challenges. And one guy that I've been working with is going through exactly what you're talking about, a divorce. And the problem with him is his wife, they're both from India originally, and his wife took their son, who's 3 years old, back to India, and he's here, and he can't get access to his son. His wife, or about to be ex-wife, won't let him have access to his son by phone, by Skype, anything. So he's devastated. I can't even imagine not being able to talk to my kid. It's terrible. So, you know, we've got guys with, you know, all different kinds of issues and things, and you know, and we don't just talk about, you know, what's negative, what's wrong. I mean, that's part of it. And we mastermind, you know, those ideas about, hey, what can I do about this? You know, it's a safe space where people can talk about real stuff and they don't have to, you know, I call it taking off the social mask. So that's one avenue. But I would just say, you know, find a community, find people that can talk. The problem is a lot of guys feel isolated because who are you going to talk to? You're going to talk to your buddy? Yeah. I mean, they might listen for a couple minutes, but, you know, there's somebody really you can count on to, like, you know, talk to them and, you know, express, because, I mean, we don't really have a culture for that, and that's one of the things that I'm trying to change by, you know, being real about stuff and not putting on that phony stuff. So find somebody you can be real with. I would say find a community, find a mentor, find somebody, anybody who can help you, you know, kind of sift through your feelings and sift through, you know, the experience that you're dealing with, because it's obviously it's very, very challenging, and so it's nice to have that support in whatever way you can find it.
And I think giving of yourself is an interesting way to access that. It's sort of a paradox, but it leads back to yourself feeling that fulfillment and connection to whether it be mentoring or helping somebody across the street or whatever, you know?
Right. Yeah, that's true. I mean, you know, like I volunteer. I'm a baseball coach for my son's Little League team, and you know, doing volunteer work, that's, if you're really stuck and, you know, you want to kind of get out of your own head and get out of your own space, volunteering is a great thing to do. You know, get together with other like-minded people that are actually contributing something to somebody else. Because, you know, I think a lot of the times when we feel the most down, it's when we're the most kind of self-centered and self-focused, and we're not, you know, sort of thinking, oh, what can I do to help somebody else? I'm, you know, thinking, you know, what's wrong with me, or how come the situation is working out for me? So if you can step in and be of service to somebody else, that can really help shift you, I think, in a powerful way.
I love that. And the footnote I would add is, and spread it across everything we've talked about in the last 30 minutes, basically, these things you have to experience, man. You can think all you want, and some of you guys are stuck in your head, and I've been stuck in my head, but you have to get your ass out of the chair, go down and volunteer at the YMCA, go for that walk, go to the beach, get off your ass, man. You got to experience the fresh air or the interaction with other people, whatever, because it's like thinking about sex. You can think about sex for 100 years, but you're never going to know what it's like until you experiment or experiment. A little slip there this weekend. My plans, I let you know by accident. But you want to experience this stuff, bro. get up, get moving.
Yeah, and
yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say along those lines, you know, start some good habits, you know, and they don't have to be big. Don't go crazy trying to make, I'm going to go to the gym for an hour and a half every day. You know, no, just pick something you're going to do. Or hell, if you're not feeling motivated, just say, I'm going to go to the gym for 10 minutes, and do something, you know, something. Or I'm going to play guitar for 10 minutes, or do something small, but just commit to doing it every day. Or I love your idea of free-form writing for, you know, 5 minutes every morning or every evening. You know, just get some stuff out of your head, and then, you know, just throw that stuff away if it's not, you know.
Also, you can do weird stuff like walk around with your eyes closed, play catch with your left hand. I mean, just stuff to shake it up. But
yeah,
you know, just things outside the box.
Turn on your favorite song and just dance around in your underwear or something. You know, anything to, like, you know, kind of shift your energy. Get yourself out of that negative cycle and pattern that you're in. Yeah,
and to wrap up, did you guys see on TED Talks, the lady who talks about posture? You can look it up, like the power Superman pose and how this can lead to confidence. You can try that. Maybe it's bullshit. I like to read poetry out loud. I think that's something. But, dude, really useful. I'd love for you to come back because I think we just scratched the surface. I'm going to give a shameless plug because Dan's a great guy and he's a very good coach. I've had relationships with him in that, as well as being a friend. So I'm telling you, man, if you're in the shit with your torch like in a cave, you can see a foot ahead of you, I would seriously check out his site. Either way, manpowerproject.com or .org.
.com.
manpowerproject.com. Check out his coaching because he'll increase the lumens of that light to get you to the end of the tunnel. And look, man, you fuck ego, bro. We need each other. Part of the reason I do these pieces is just to let you know somebody's out there, okay? But this guy can lead the way in a lot of different manners, and I think of great use to you. Okay, so thank you so much, bro.
Hey, man, my pleasure. Thank you so much, Randall. And, yeah, man, my deepest respect to you and the work that you're doing. You're an awesome guy. We've known each other a long, long time, and, you know, I love your energy, your work, and, you know, you're the man. So thank you so much for having me on. Appreciate it.
You got it, bro. Stay on the line. Everybody, we'll talk soon. Keep moving forward, man. And I am here for you all the time. As I said, let's keep talking on the board below the videos, and together we'll rise, okay? Take care. See you soon. Bye-bye.